Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video early in the morning. All right, so since we've talked a lot about John Wall's situation as it pertains to him being in a trade um, candidate for various things since he's requested his trade, and the Houston Rockets have obliged, but of course, as of right now, no deal has come up, and it's become increasingly clear that the chance for him not to come back this season is starting to increase. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know my theory about John Wall's trade request. I think it made sense. I don't think anybody was wrong. I don't think anybody had the wrong idea. I just think that ultimately he saw, meaning the John Wall and his representatives, saw that Ben Simmons' situation was as is, and recognized that his contract was a match, recognized that his situation would probably fit Philadelphia's in the sense that they would need what it is that he does if they were to trade Ben Simmons, and that made a lot of sense to me because it would allow Philadelphia to, in theory, request the services of John Wall in exchange for Ben Simmons without giving up any assets, as to which any other deal that would give them a good return, in my opinion, would require Ben Simmons to be attached to something else in order to get it done, because Ben Simmons is a salary dump, even though he's a player, of course, of great talent. At the end of the day, his contract, coupled with his circumstance, make that a contract not very good, being that it's so expensive at this point. So um, most teams are unlikely to want to take it, even if they are willing to take it. Uh, by the rule of value, they would be um, in their right to request more because of the nature of him being a salary dump contract. So, in my mind, John Wall made the most sense. But I think if for John Wall's situation, if Ben Simmons isn't the trade, then I'm not sure if the Rockets are going to be happy with what other deals they have out there, given the fact that they have a very young team, um, his contract, and really not a whole lot of needs as it pertains to um, their roster. And I know people are saying, what? The Rockets don't have needs, they suck. Well, no, because all of the players on their team are the same age. All of the players on their team should develop into their respective roles to make their team complete. They got guys that are going to be stars. They got guys that are going to be role players. They got guys that are going to be back in the bench players. They really have most of what they need. They just need to develop it, or shuffle some things around to get rid of stuff they don't want, and bring in stuff that they do. But the point is, asset wise, value wise, the only thing that they have that they would rather let go of is John Wall's contract. And if, say, KPJ were to go down with a injury, then they would need John Wall to play. But because KPJ is out there and they're ready to let him be their point guard of the future, and work his progressions out, John Wall is kind of in theory, in the way, because John Wall is a player who's got a different timeline than the rest of the team. He wants to win right now. Of course, he plays that position, um, and they just don't really have a use for him at that price. Now, if John Wall were on a regular contract, then he would be an excellent piece for their team. He could help guide those kids, help mold those kids, and put them in a position to kind of be pros better. I think he's probably doing that as we speak. However, for himself, that's not the best situation. He needs to be somewhere where he's winning. He needs to be somewhere where his contract is needed. He needs to be somewhere where he's not necessarily in the way of a young player developing. And I think Philadelphia would be a great spot for that in theory, although Tyrese Maxey has changed my mind about that entirely since the beginning of the season. So at this point, it's like John Wall's market has dried up because the Rockets aren't going to just take anything for him. They were hoping to get Ben Simmons for him. They were hoping to get Kyrie Irving for him, if not that. Kyrie Irving's situation is still up in the air, and he's already made it clear that he's not going to be traded, or he's going to retire. So at this point, until he says something different, you're going to run with that narrative. Now, he did make it explicitly clear. I have to say this because it's important I say this. Kyrie made it explicitly clear that he is not retiring, but that's not relevant, because the point is that request to retire, if traded, is on the table. And because it's on the table, the Nets will not toy around with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And most importantly, forget the Nets. Other teams who would trade for Kyrie aren't going to toy around with it. And that's the point. Kyrie has already said he's not doing that, but nobody's going to play with that. No one's going to even test him to find out. Do you see what I'm saying? So he's automatically removed from the situation. So this leaves John Wall with or the Rockets rather, with not too many options for trading John Wall, because really other stuff that's out there is like, small pieces that they could bring back to their team that they really don't need at those prices. Different role players, stuff like that. That's just going to end up doing more of the same, keeping players who need to be in rotation out of rotation. So what does the Houston Rockets do in terms of bringing back value for John Wall while still bringing their team what they need? Well, chances are, if you're the Houston Rockets, you would like a return that gives you some picks, some assets that don't take away minutes from players on the floor. Assets you can trade for bigger assets down the road, 2024 picks, 2025 picks, things like that. Or, of course, a superstar that can help make them a winning team right now, or speed up their process a little bit, even more so, rather than making them a contender. And they don't have that return coming their way. Not that I can see as I landscape the league. The only real trade that they had that was good for everybody was the Philadelphia 76ers Ben Simmons situation, but that doesn't look like that's going to manifest for the Rockets. So right now, they don't have a trade for John Wall, and as a result, it's being reported that they're expecting to sit him, period. And it's looking increasingly likely that he doesn't suit up for the season. And this is when it gets tricky in terms of, for players, how, I think in this situation, if I'm to just tell the truth, it's you just have to accept it. If you're John Wall, this is why you have that contract, because you're supposed to be paid to absorb these type of circumstances. That's what the contract does. In other words, yeah, it sucks that you're sitting, but we're paying you to sit, so you better continue to sit, and there's nothing you can do about it because we're paying you such an amount of money to sit that you're just attached to the contract. So whatever the contract dictates, if we can't use the contract, then you don't play. It's the same thing going on with Marvin Bagley. It's the same thing that goes on with various players. We see it. You're being paid, so we pay you to either play basketball or we pay you to put up with whatever you got to put up with. And that's what Ben Simmons is learning as well. It's like the contract ain't just to play ball. The contract is to swallow whatever they give you. And sitting is what they're giving these players at this time, and it's not a solution. They don't have a solution that's better than this one. I don't see one. It's just a circumstance. But a simple request from myself on this channel to find a better way, NBA. Find a better way. I just see it's tricky because from my mindset, I value my freedom, right, over money. Now that's maybe because I've never really had any money, so I can't really say what it feels like to be rich or have means. But what I can say is my freedom for creative freedom, my ability to do what it is that I love to do artistically, my ability to turn this camera on at 5 a.m. and say whatever I want. That freedom is very valuable to me. Now I don't know if it's $150, $200 million valuable. Do you understand what I'm saying? Basketball players' money valuable, but it's very valuable to the point where I really have to sit back and really think about how much that check is going to make me feel better than being able to do what it is I love to do. And if I'm an artist like some of these basketball players believe themselves to be, and when I say artist, that means I don't care if it's money or not. I love the game and I want to play it. A guy like John Wall wants to get back on the court. He gets paid to play basketball. Now, granted, I'm sure he's not ready to give back no money. No different than Ben Simmons or Bart Bagley or any of these guys. And if they were to give back money, I'm pretty sure they'd get their freedom back. So there's no solution. You gotta keep your money, but it would just be wonderful if there were another solution that maybe there isn't, simply isn't, to where guys can get their money and not find themselves in these situations where they can still play their ball and still get their money. And I think if we get creative enough, the world is smart enough, if the NBA world is smart enough, we get creative enough, we will find a solution to this equation. Because at the end of the day, you only have a certain amount of time. Money is so far away from what I can give you in terms of context. So I won't assume to tell you how important it is to have a lot of money. But what I'm saying is, whether you got $8 billion like Yeezy or what I got in my account right now, you only got but so much time left, right? Time is not going to replenish regardless. So, yeah, can John Wall make his money up? It's possible he can make his money up. If he does a couple deals in this world, does a few things a good way, he can make every coin he has back. Can he get his body back to a place where he can play NBA ball again once he gets too old to do it? Ain't enough money in the world. And that's the point. That's the point of this video. That's the point of everything I'm saying. It's basically the point of the channel. I'm trying to get us all to value time and respect its inability to replenish, and give that as much credence as it deserves. Because right now we are in a space where we put money over time, but money replenishes. Time does it. So a guy like John Wall, he gonna have his $100 million plus in the bank, and he's gonna be an old man who may or may not be satisfied with his career. But the point is, in 2021, he was healthy enough to play, and that year is lost simply because of the circumstances for which his contract dictates he must abide by. That's being confined. You are being paid to be locked into a confined space where others control what it is you can and cannot do artistically. My mind and my soul cannot accept that. I just can't do it. Now, I respect everybody who does things unselfishly. You got a family, you trying to take care of the whole family, you fall on that sword, you take that contract, you do what you got to do, and it's going to make your family straight for years after you're gone. That's more important than your perspective, your happiness, and your freedom to some people, and I respect all different types of perspectives as it pertains to this situation. I'm just telling you mine as an artist and as somebody who's very passionate about being able to control his own destiny. Money helps me control some of that, I'd imagine. But the artistic nature to enjoy what it is that I naturally love to do and am great at, the time for which I'm able to do that as an athlete is limited. Now, if we talk about music, we talk about different things, got a lot more time. We got more opportunities to do what it is we love to do. Our body doesn't dictate our ability to do that. But in basketball, youth is your best friend. Health is your best friend. And John Wall has got both of those things fighting against him. So, what can he do for himself? Well, one of the options he has is the same thing Ben Simmons has and everybody else has. The thing that's binding you to this space is your willingness to not fight that contract, and or your willingness to sign it in the first place. More so, you just got to get to a point where you know where you are, know who you are, what you'll stand for, what your price is, and stay true to that. You know what I mean? And if John Wall is fine with the situation, my perspective doesn't matter. You know what I mean? He's his own man. He has his own way of looking at his own life, and I have not heard a thing from him in regards to that. Maybe he feels this way. Maybe he feels like the money's most important. Whichever it is, I respect it equally. I don't have skin in the game at all. But my perspective from my channel just wants to see guys have more artistic freedom. How best to get that? Not smart enough to know. How best to respect that? I'm still learning to try to respect what it is I need to understand. But I just want to see guys free, man. So no bad guys here. I don't think the Rockets are bad guys. I don't think John Wall did anything that hurt his situation. I just think guys were hoping something would manifest, and Ben Simmons just simply is not. And no other deal is worth it. So this is the conundrum all parties are faced with, and I don't have a bad thought about it. It would just be nice to see John Wall be able to play for a basketball team without any of this. You know what I mean? Same for for Marvin Bagley, man. These are basketball players at the end of the day. They're rich men too, yes, but they're basketball players. I think about guys running around when we were 6 and 7 years old with basketball dreams. You know what I mean? Every basketball player I've ever known, all of them, they had two dreams in mind. One was to play basketball. Two was to get rich to take care of their family. But number one was always basketball. For the good guys, the guys who could really play, it's basketball. That's the art form. The art form will get them the success. The art form will get them the clout. The art form will get them the money. But the art form is the main thing. When you remove the art form, you take the rate a lot. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I was alluding to in regards to Kyrie Irving's conversation. You know, from one point of view was, one of the things that I wanted him to kind of remember is that basketball is what gives you the voice to be relevant enough to express what it is that you feel. This platform that you have, this attention that you have, the resources you have to do all the things that you're able to. It starts with the art form. Keep the art form the main thing. Remembering the art form is the way to go. You know what I mean? Because if you take care of that and continue to make that excellent, all that other stuff comes with it. And so when you remove that art form from a guy like John Wall, you remove that art form from a guy like Kyrie, I can only imagine how tough that is for them. Because in my mind, athletes don't come in with the idea of just getting rich, minus the basketball. If they love money, but they want very much so to be able to play the game, get the most out of the game, reach their milestones in the game. A guy like John Wall, I think about, he's already started to reach certain milestones. If I'm not mistaken, he's the greatest shot blocking point guard of all time. Like, this guy has echelon areas that he'd like to reach, and if he's healthy, this is an important year for him to continue that path. This is an important year to put him in a position to be one of the great players versus being just some guy who had injuries and that's it. This year would determine whether or not he's going to be able to come back and be whatever he's going to be. Think about a guy like Victor Oladipo. As he comes back from his injury, he's going to redefine who he is in this league. It's like guys need an opportunity to play that. And sometimes when they have their contracts that are so high, they just can't necessarily have that freedom to just express the art form, So I'd like to see that change. Anyway, yeah, I'm speaking in circles, but I thank y'all for putting up with me. My name is BDF44. I'm hopeful that John Wall, everybody, Bagley, all these guys can get back on the court, and that there's a amicable way to do so without hurting the franchises as well. So that's what I'm hopeful for, man. Good luck to everybody. My name is BDF44 once again. I'm out.